I'm Dr. Tim McGrew. I'm a Christian philosopher, and I enjoy building connections with people at Atheist Edge.
Oh, man. Oh, so writing this down, Hemant Mehta, I'm a fan from long ago, huge fan. So I'm just writing down a quick bio to let those very few people out there that don't know about you. And it got out of control. And so I got to this. I got public
Yes.
speaker, author of at least 4 books that I know of. It's probably more. Broadcaster, blogger, interviewed on CNN, all the major networks. Most importantly, well, a degree in biology and education. Used to be a math teacher.
You're good. I like this.
Most noted, I guess you're most noted for your book, I Sold My Soul on eBay.
Yeah.
And I think what didn't. Oh, well, okay. I know that appeared somewhere, and so that went out of control viral, I guess, at some point. You can talk about that.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, and what last thing, most importantly, when I first started this channel, there was maybe this many YouTube atheists that I wanted to mold my show after. You're one of them. And Anthony Magnabosco, Thomas Westbrook. And are you seeing a recurring pattern here? People that rise above the fray, people that they can get angry, but they do it. They do it in a cordial way. There is no name calling. It's rare to hear you cuss, and it's so rare that when you do it, I'm like, whoa, Hemant just said bullshit.
Right.
But no, our show's motto is building bridges, finding common ground, and having fun. And I think you are a big influence. I think you early on. Yeah. Anyway, so back to I sold my soul on eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's what really propelled you? Is that what went viral?
That is the auction it was based off of was basically me, as I was already an atheist, but I said I would go to church for the highest bidder on eBay. And that's what went viral, that story. And it gave me the opportunity to write that book. So the book, I don't think was viral. The story behind it was. But one of the things that came from that is I started, after the book was done, writing about my thoughts online. So this is like 2006 or 7. And the feedback, the immediate feedback you get from blogging, and man, my archives are online. They're not good. But like when you look at them and you see the immediate feedback, it's like, oh, I like writing about like topical things and stuff that is literally relevant for like 24 hours and then no one's going to see it again, but getting the feedback that comes from it. And so even after the book was done, I decided to keep doing it. So I still do that today at Friendly Atheist. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing for years. I was already an atheist. I was already something of an activist. But yeah, that's kind of where it all really began.
Great segue, because you just started talking about the blog and the activism. So let's get plugs done right up front. It's better to do them up front, I've learned, than at the end when less people are watching, fewer people are watching. So you want to just plug everything? Book, blogs, article, website, everything.
The main thing is friendlyatheist.com. That's where I write all the articles, and everything else kind of stems from that. At Hemant Mehta on Twitter, at FriendlyAtheist1, I think, on YouTube. But that's the websites where everything kind of stems from.
Okay, so before we get to, I got 10 questions.
All right.
Full disclosure to the viewers, we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to try to rapid fire and get all 10 of these in. They didn't just come from me. They came from other people. So I have to make sure if I miss one, someone's going to be angry. So
sure.
Before I do that, I've already stroked your ego. Now I'm going to bring you back down a bit.
Yes.
It was about maybe 2 years ago. One video, and this is my chance to tell you since I got you in person now.
Okay.
I rarely disagree with you, but you did a video on what to do at gay pride protests when the Christians show up and sometimes they show up with the signs that say,
I'm
"We're
sorry."
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yes.
And I remember.
I don't remember the exact video, but I know what you're talking about. They hold signs that say, "I'm sorry for the way other Christians have treated you." And the video was about how should we react to those signs? Because obviously they mean it in a good way. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, because it's been a while since I've thought about that video, I don't like those signs. I don't like those signs that say, I'm sorry, because the question that I'm thinking, I have a couple of questions. One is, well, then do you support LGBTQ rights, like same-sex marriage, trans rights? It's a topic that comes up a lot. And the other issue is, do you think homosexuality is a sin? Because my issue with those signs is that a lot of the people holding them, they want the goodwill of LGBTQ people. They want people to say, oh, look at that Christian and how awesome that person is. But if you're, let's say, the Pope, who is anti-gay by definition, who doesn't want same-sex marriage and all that, but he's a nice guy, and he says things like, who am I to judge? And it's like, oh, look at this. Pope Francis is a good guy. No, he's not. He's still very anti-gay. He just gets a lot of positive press. And when I see that sign, I think what really ticked me off is I think on Reddit, there was a picture that went viral, and this happens all the time too, of like someone marching in the parade, a gay guy who's hugging a Christian with that sign.
That's what I have the problem with.
And that bothered me because I think the Christian was duping whoever was hugging him, because what if that Christian still says, no, I don't think you should be able to get married legally, or I still think it's a sin, but I love you. Like, that's not okay. That's still a problem. And I think when you just hold up the sign that says, I'm sorry, you get all the credit, but you're not telling the full story. That's what I think the video was about, because I've written that post a few times. Every time those things go viral, it makes me mad. And
it's
so what did you disagree with?
It's as if you wrote that script yesterday. I mean, you nailed it.
So what did you not like?
I went through, it took me forever, but I finally found it on your channel. Yeah. You put out a crazy amount of regular content, which is awesome.
I'm lucky that I'm one of the handful of people, I think, who's able to talk about atheism full time. This is what I do now. So yeah, there better be a lot of content, because what the hell else am I doing?
Exactly. Okay. Everything you just said, not a problem with it.
Okay.
I agree that they are being disingenuous. I think you even say in the video that they want to get all the credit, but they don't want you to ask questions about, if you're going to go to hell or not still, or if they think you're still sinning. I get that. It's when you start trying to police the actions of others. Those opinions are yours and they happen to be mine, and that's okay. But in the video, you also say, hey, don't hug them. Don't go march with them. Don't be their friends.
Okay. If I said that, yeah, I'm not doubting that I said that. I trust you on that. I don't remember saying that. But to me, that is less policing. I don't care if the gay guy hugs him, so much as anyone who wants to give those people credit, or anyone who wants to hug them or anything like that. I feel like you should be aware of the full story, which is what I was trying to do. Then jump to the conclusion that this person understands what the hater Christians are saying and is one of the good guys. I'm saying, no, don't give them credit. They don't deserve that credit. Look, if you know the full story and you think, okay, maybe they oppose same-sex marriage and gay rights, but they don't want to be dicks about it. Okay, hey, if you still want to hug them, then you're right. I'm not policing you. Go hug them, whoever it is. Right. I don't care.
It sounded I feel like just a slight twinge of authoritarianism, and it kind of
right, which is not what I was trying to do. It's more just me saying, look, before any of you give them credit or hug them, I think you should know what you are doing, and I don't know that everyone does. That's all I was getting at. Believe me, I don't care. I don't police anybody.
I'll just drop a quick note in there. One of my best friends is a Southern Baptist pastor. He's the founder of the Atheist and Christian Book Club. It's on my channel. We've cool. Frank Turek was supposed to be at our club March 27th for a return appearance, but because of all this, he's not going to be able to make it. But yeah, we get some big names on Richard Carrier. Everyone shows up, atheist and Christian authors from all over. So, so I love the guy. We're really tight. We're great friends. He has openly and more than once said to his congregation on the pulpit that Jim Hall is a misguided soul. He is he is a lost soul. And I've said on my show that James Walker is delusional, and he said, "Well, which is worse, delusional or misguided? One is a psychiatric term." So he's, we're always busting each other's balls a little bit, and it's okay to hug that Christian. True though, if you go
as long as you know what you're doing,
yes, as long as
it sounds like you get him,
right? We get each other.
Right,
but he doesn't try to hide it. And you're right. I think those Christians do. It's the deception
that I have a problem with.
Yep. 10 questions. I'm going to try to not offer my usual banter at the end of each one because we got to get through these, but no promises. Okay, first one. This is one of mine. Are you still vegetarian?
I am.
Okay.
I was raised religiously, and my religion taught me to be vegetarian and nonviolent, and vegetarian is part of that. So I was raised vegetarian, and when I became an atheist, there are some things you can't defend without supernatural beliefs. Like I can't believe in heaven. That doesn't make sense when you don't believe in that stuff. But I was always taught why to be vegetarian in a way that never involved religion. And so that one still made sense to me. It still does today. So I've been a vegetarian my whole life. If I've eaten meat, it's accidentally. But I have never found it. So first of all, I am in awe of people who ate meat and then became vegetarian. That to me is such a hard thing to do. I did not have to make that leap. You know what I mean? But also I've never found it to be particularly challenging. There's always been alternatives for me that I've found. So I've never been like, oh man, I can't eat stuff. It's even easier today with Impossible Burgers and stuff like that if I wanted to eat that. And also I've always been lucky that the people I've been surrounded with, friends, family, they've either been vegetarian or very accommodating to it. So it's never really been an issue. It's not even something I think about anymore. Really.
You grew up in it.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, is this an ethical or a health decision? But it might just be
ethical.
Right. But even maybe not so much even ethical as just you don't know any different. But now that you've reached the age of reason, you have attached some ethical meaning to it as well.
That's accurate. I would feel really crappy, I think, about eating meat. I'm not worried about what's going to happen to me as a result. It would just be a weird tasting thing because I haven't had it. But that's about the worst of it. You know what I mean? So I'm not bothered by the idea of it. I'm sorry, that came off wrong. I think it really is just an ethical thing. I don't want to eat it because I know how they make it. And there's really nothing else stopping me from eating it though.
Last recording session, we had a guest in studio. And when he found out that I've been a vegetarian for 7 years, he said, "Oh, well, that's where we can have some fireworks because." And then he went off on this carnivore tangent rant, and I'm there's so many vegetarians and vegans that are militant about it that people like him think we're all like that, and so he gets his dander up. He puts on his defensives before he even realizes that, hey, I'm not one of those guys. Do you?
You're not PETA. Right. You're not doing all the. You're not going totally. I think I saw a PETA meme or a tweet that said something like virus anagrams to carnivorous, and therefore who knows, which was dumb. It's something I believe. I mean, obviously, as someone who is an advocate for atheism, I am very much, I don't never really talk about being vegetarian, even though that to me is an ethical thing.
Would that be something you might do? Too. Would that be something you would consider? I mean, it's such a part of your life. Why not talk about it? Yeah.
Because I'm never around people who eat meat and don't understand why I don't. I'm never in that argument with anyone. So it's just yep, this is what I do. This is what I am. And honestly, if I'm ever around a stranger and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm vegetarian, honestly, the reaction is always, oh yeah, okay, whatever. No one cares. So it's not even something that seems to come up in my life at all. So I never argue about it because I have no one to argue about it with, nor do I seek it out. As opposed to religion, where I'm constantly talking or responding to people who disagree with me, who I think are wrong. I don't know. And I'm not saying that's wrong either, because I think being vegetarian is an ethical thing, if not a health thing. And so it is something we ought to argue about if you care about it. I just don't think that's where my focus is.
Yeah, fair enough. The Foundation Beyond Belief, are you still involved in that? And what was the extent of your, and I'm going to ask you some questions about the American Cancer Society turning down your involvement.
Sure. So the Foundation Beyond Belief was a group started years ago by my friend Dale McGowan. Basically, there were these surveys that always said, who's more charitable, religious people or atheists? And the answer is always religious people, because they give to church. But even if you take church out of the picture, they still give more money to charity. And we were like, well, why is that the case? Is it because they're better people than us? And the answer is no. It's when you're part of a church community, a lot of the good ones anyway, they make giving to other people and helping other people like a core of who they are and what they do. And when you're raised in that community and you're part of that community, it's not weird to give to charity. It is something you do. And we're not even talking about tithing here. And so what's the issue for atheists? I think for us, there is no organized way of giving to charity. Like maybe there's a tragedy, so you give to the Red Cross, or we give to groups we like, but there's no systemic way of giving to charities that we maybe never heard of as a group of atheists. And so this is what he started. The details have changed, but basically Foundation Beyond Belief is a group that says we picked out and vetted a handful of charities doing good, secular, as in not religious work in a variety of areas like education and women's rights and things like that. And you can give a portion of whatever donation you want to these charities. So that's the group. So Dale started that. I was on the board. I was the chair of the board for a while. Honestly, I think I just got term limited out and I decided that's a good time to step away. But I still donate to them monthly. If you're able to, I think you should too. That's it. That's what I like about Foundation Beyond Belief. It's just a really cool organization it's kind of like an atheist group that doesn't actually care about the atheism thing.
So
I like that.
Yeah. Cares about caring. And it's a great start because I think statistics show that religious are more charitable than secular. And
I think it's easy to make that jump than to say, well, if they're more charitable, they're better people. Right. And it's like, no, you're missing a lot. They have the structure and we don't have that. So what if we made it easier for atheists to donate?
I just realized you said the name of the virus. I'm going to have to bleep that out, Hemant.
Oh.
And for you know that
for
videos
YouTube?
are getting, they're getting demonetized. No problem though. So the Foundation Beyond Belief, does it run into barriers like what happened with the American Cancer Society when the Beyond Belief tried to become a part of, I guess it was some sort of fun run or some sort of project?
Yeah.
And Cancer
so the
Society
American
said no.
Society, they do a thing every year called Relay for Life, which I did in high school, and I did it as a teacher at a high school. Like just every year, like raise money. You're gonna walk like the track on the high school area or wherever you're located, and basically you go around and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing for charity. Would you consider donating?" It's an awesome fundraiser. It goes to a good cause. Fine. So we had a donor who said, "Well, I think if I have the details right, he wanted to give $250,000 matched by atheists. Like if we could get enough Foundation Beyond Belief groups around the nation that said, yeah, we're going to participate in the Relay for Life as a group of atheists under the Foundation for Beyond Belief umbrella, and we raised $10,000, let's say, in my group. And then the donor said, fine, I'll pitch in $10,000 to match you. So awesome thing, right? This is a win-win for everybody. Because if we as a group can put together enough atheists to do this thing for cancer research to raise $250,000, we had a donor saying he'll match it. The only thing he said is, you got to treat me, to the American Cancer Society, treat me like the other donors, and that anyone who's giving that amount of money or pledging that amount of money, they're listed as a sponsor. And he had his foundation. So he's like, list me as a sponsor where you list your other $250,000 sponsors. And whoever was there said no. And so it's like, really? You're saying no? Why? Why? Because we're not advocating for atheism here, but we are a group of atheists doing what it is you do. And they gave us, again, it's been a while, but I think they gave us a runaround like, well, we're not doing that for any religious or non-religious group, except they were, because there were some groups that are religious in nature that were allowed on the sponsorship thing. And basically it's like, look, if you're going to treat us like this, we're not going to do this with you. And we ended up doing a similar fundraiser with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which does a similar event, slightly different cause. And so we did it with them instead, and they were happy to give us the recognition. And again, it's not about recognition. It's about, why are you trying to erase us when we're trying to help your cause? One group doesn't want to erase us. The American Cancer Society did. And I'm sure if you ask them now, it's probably different people in charge. Maybe they would do it differently. But I just remember that being an annoying, weird thing for the American Cancer Society to be weird about. And we never got a satisfactory answer from anyone there.
Yeah, it's just a punch in the nuts. And I just wonder how often does that happen, where organizations look at you, these secular, run by atheist organizations. My next question is going to be Reason Rally. Might as well roll right into that. So Reason Rally, you had two of them, 2012, 2016. Foundation Beyond Belief, I think, founds it or heavily sponsors it, or...
Totally. I don't know about sponsors. So this is my understanding of it. There was a quasi Reason Rally in, was it 2001 or 2002? Way before there was really much of an atheist movement of any sort. It's kind of American Atheists and a couple other organizations got together. I think maybe they got 10,000 people there, which was a huge deal at the time. But again, this is way before most people who are online and active about atheism were doing activism, much less maybe even alive, who knows. So anyway, in 2012 there was an effort to replicate that effort. Maybe it was in 2002. So 10 years later they said, you know what, the new atheist books have been out, there's been more talk about religion, there's an election coming up.
The first big one, that was 2012.
2012 was the big one. So this was a coalition of groups that got together and said, we'll pitch in to help make it happen. And we'll, details aside, that was the idea. Let's have kind of a celebration of atheism and reason. Reason was the agreed upon word, because I good luck finding one word that describes humanists and atheists and agnostics and everything. So that was the idea. So they brought together as many famous people as would come. A lot of middle tier atheist activists. Hi. And a bunch of whoever they could get. There were some really cool names up there. Speaking on stage, a lot of groups were there. It rained, if I remember correctly, in 2012, which was annoying. No, 2012 it rained.
It was the one in 12. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, it rained, but whatever. It was a cool event. It got
20,000 people.
Something like that. There was never any official estimate, but it was at least 20,000.
The Atlantic put it at 20,000.
And I think they were bullshitting. I think they were making it up. I think there was another that said 30. But again, we never got an official estimate because the government, it's not like an inauguration where the government is watching it and they can make actual estimates. It's just a bunch of people getting together. So anyone's estimate is good. But it was a ton of people. I think the biggest single gathering of atheists anywhere, arguably.
Yes.
So cool event. 2016, they tried to do it again. This is a different group of organizers, but
so my question is, what went wrong, Hemant, that second one?
So
what are the causes?
Let me say some of the same groups were still sponsoring it, but different organizers and stuff. And I think there were a bunch of things that went different. One is I think they tried very specifically to reach out less to atheists. I was not involved in 2016. So I'm not privy to whatever inside conversations were happening. This is me as an outsider saying this is what I think probably didn't work. They tried to make it something for everyone who is interested in science and reason. So you don't get the hardcore atheists who might actually care about this sort of thing because you don't have speakers catering to them. That's one issue. Again, if you asked me to name the speakers at the 2016 rally, I would be hard pressed. And I was there. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't really memorable in the sense of they really galvanized people. Also, 2016 was not as, I think people, if I recall correctly, because it was also an election year, it's like, well, I don't remember if Trump was a candidate, but it's like, oh, it looks like this is less pressing of an issue after 8 years of Obama, like religious freedom isn't as big of an issue. Whereas in 2012, after most of us went through the Bush era, and yeah, Obama had been in office for a while, but it's like, okay, we were still riding off of the Bush era. It's like, no, this is still a big deal. We got to fight this because we've seen the other side. Whereas in 2016, it's like, well, it's not as big of an issue as it used to be. Little did we know. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons like that. I don't think the word got out as much. I think because it wasn't the first big rally, the excitement and novelty of it all did not bring. So, I mean, I don't remember the estimates for that one either. Significantly lower.
The estimate was 30,000, and it was way less than the first one turned out.
As in 30,000 for 2012, you're saying?
The 2016 was predicted to be 30,000 people.
And it was definitely not.
And it was way under the 20,000 from 2012.
Way under.
Yeah, and there's speculation.
Nice day, though.
Oh yeah, much better day. There's a lot of speculation. I thought you were more in the loop on that. I don't know why.
I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, if talking about riding on the end of the Bush era and then 8 years of Obama, it makes sense that if another Reason rally were to be scheduled like right about now-ish, it would probably go over like gangbusters.
You know what? I disagree with you. I don't know that it would, partly because I don't think galvanizing atheists as a group would work today. Again, let me go back. If you were doing this in 2012, you are coming off of a few years when the God delusion and Sam Harris and Hitchens were like big deals beyond our bubble. You know what I mean? And there's still a lot of religious church-state separation issues to fight. So I think there's a big deal to advocate for atheism. Whereas today, when I think about activism, it is much more of a political activism that even if you ask young atheists, like, what do you care about? It's not, am I right about the God issue? It's how is religion being used by the Trump administration? And it's much more of all the young activists are not atheist activists. They might be progressive activists. They might be Bernie Sanders activists. Some of them, like, I don't know, 3 are like hardcore conservative atheists. But like, you know what I mean? You're not going to galvanize atheists as a group in the same way that you could have a decade ago. Even though there is so much to push back against. But atheism as a thing, I think, is just in a different place than it was 10 years ago. So I think if you tried to hold a Reason rally, even if you had the money to pull it off, I don't think you would get a lot of people. You might get atheists under a different banner, but just to celebrate or promote atheism, no.
You're making this interview so easy because you perfectly segue to the next question, talking about the separation of church and state issues. Mm-hmm. This is what the point of the show, where I'd like to officially thank you for all the work you and Aaron Ra, and he writes under the name Martin Hughes, but he's a mutual friend of you and I. So that you three, that on Patheos, your articles helped really raise awareness for our banner campaign, because me and my co-host Courtney, she was the president of Metroplex Atheists at the time. Yeah, and so we worked really hard on it. Randy Word and Terry McDonald did most of the heavy lifting, but Courtney, of course, she's very eloquent, does the media interviews. We had media from across the Atlantic and Canada, and I just happened to be the only Spanish speaker in our group, so I did all the Telemundo and La Estrella TV interviews. So yeah, but thank you so much for helping us get that word out.
It was an interesting story, and the pictures were amazing, and the banner was interesting, and again, it's been a while, and it's weird because I churn through so many stories a day because I kind of have to, that it feels like it's been a decade and it was a year ago or whatever. But when you have those signs that are advocating for atheism, it's always interesting because people flip out when the truth is like, well, that banner is no different than a million others that go up that get no attention. It's like when those atheist billboards go up, like, smile, there is no God, or there are millions of other people that also don't believe, like very innocuous messages. But because you're advocating for something unusual, or promoting something unusual, it gets all this media coverage sometimes. It's always just an interesting story to see when that happens. Because if you replace atheism with religion, I don't think anyone would blink.
No one bats an eyelash.
Right?
But yes, thank you for I mean, although it seemed like a futile effort, and the biggest criticism was, why are you guys doing this? You're not going to change the national motto. You're not going to change it back to E pluribus unum. Hey, we just planted a seed in millions of people's ears. That's it was a total success in my opinion.
Get the same reaction when it comes to YouTube or blogging or whatever. It's like, you really think you're changing someone's mind? No, I am so cynical about the stuff I do. Like, no, I don't think any one article is going to change anybody's mind. But what I do hope is that if you like my stuff and you read or listen or watch or whatever over a sustained period of time, then hopefully I can convince you to see these situations the way I see them. And if you're there, honestly, I don't care what you think about God. I hope if you're a Christian who reads my stuff, you'll think my way about church-state separation issues, if not God. I hope if you're an atheist and you're like, yeah, but who cares? Well, I'm giving you reason to care.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yes,
exactly.
You plant the seed. It's why I encourage young atheists all the time. Like, you might, and you said it yourself, like, if you were influenced by any of those people, myself, I appreciate it, but anyone online, all of you right now, if you're quarantined, go set up your phone and make a video and post it online. I don't care if you use a pseudonym, do a TikTok, do a whatever you want, because like, you got to get that learning curve out of the way. But then if you are interesting to watch and you have something to say, it doesn't matter if it's a repeat, put it in your own words, put it out there. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. However long you've been doing your show,
3 years.
3 years, you have no doubt gotten feedback from people who have said how much they appreciate it. And you probably had no idea they were even listening.
It'll put a tear in your eyes. It doesn't happen that maybe half a dozen times where we get an email, but when we do get them, we're bawling like babies. It's like, thank you. Now, me personally, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. Courtney and Chris, my co-host, I would think they have a different opinion. I think they are trying to proselytize to some extent. Me, I could give two shits. But when I get an email saying, you know, you planted a seed. It took a year to germinate. I started questioning my pastor. He didn't have the right answers. And you know what? I just want to say I'm a oh man, it's
right.
It's
and that's exactly the thing. I'm always not surprised when someone's like, I made a YouTube video. No one knew who I was. I had no followers or subscribers, but I made it. I titled it like, here's why God doesn't exist. Pretty generic, but I said it. And especially here's what surprised me. And I don't know how old you are. We're probably a similar age, but when I was younger, I would go on AOL or Google and search for stuff about religion because I was trying to figure out my own beliefs on stuff. And I think a lot of young people today will do that on YouTube or Twitter or something. They'll search for those terms because they want to hear someone talk about it. And again, someone who's like 14 and just has opinions about religion, and maybe they are not perfectly formed, and maybe you will make mistakes that will make you cringe later on. But if you say it and you put it out there, you are reaching someone that you and I can never reach, because why would they listen to us? But they will find that video and they will comment, or they might reach out to you, or maybe they do nothing. But honestly, all of you who haven't done it will be surprised at the fact that you are reaching people, whether you know it or not, and you should try it.
I'm 14 years older than you. But thank you for the compliment.
But same deal though. Like we came up in an age where you would not have the resources that people have now. And like, like, if you're a teenager right now, no teenager I know is picking up the God delusion to find out about religion. Some maybe, but most of them, if they're talking about like, who are the atheists you watch or listen to, it's probably people on YouTube. It's probably
do you have a copy of my notes, Hemant? Because you're making you're reading my mind. You're segueing right in from question to question.
Awesome.
Next question is about YouTube and young creators. So, and I just touched my face.
It's okay.
My wife's on me to. We're watching each other. Don't touch your face. Sneeze into your elbow.
Yes.
So you're which YouTube channel has 9,000 subscribers? I'm guessing that's the newest one, because
That's
Atheist Voice has 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Now, compared to all your other forms of media and communication, and I'm going to directly compare it to your public speaking, where on a good day, you can maybe fill 500 people into an arena, right? So you got 500 people you're talking to, and so much preparation goes into you going and standing on that stage and speaking to 500 people, when you can just put together a 10-minute video on a current event, give your peace of mind, get it out there, and then you got exponentially more people eyeballs on that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
You know what surprised me? I knew that would happen, because I was surprised that that's what happens on the blog too. Like, you know, you put something. This is kind of the way I function now. I spend a limited amount of time trying to summarize and share an opinion about whatever story's out there. And sometimes they do go viral. And sometimes you're like, so many people are reading this, and it's something I feel like I shat out in 20 minutes. But there you go. That's the internet for you.
Never fails.
I know. But I will say if I can tell you a quick story, the Atheist Voice YouTube channel started because a filmmaker in Chicago said he wanted to make a documentary about young atheists. He found that interesting. So we met because he wanted to film me, wanted to get my thoughts on some stuff, and basically said, oh, all the stuff we're talking about sounds interesting. He said, can I film you answering some basically softball atheism questions? You know, where do you get your morals from? Things like that. So we set up shop at my house like one week. And he literally sent me the questions ahead of time. I knew what he was going to ask, but he asked those basic Atheism 101 questions. And I did my best to answer them off the cuff. And what I didn't know, I thought he would use that for whatever project he was working on, right? He ended up setting up that YouTube channel, Atheist Voice, stuck the clips up on there, one question at a time. And what surprised both of us is that people stumbled upon those videos. It's not like we were promoting it or anything, but because it was like, if I'm an atheist, how do I tell my parents? Which is a question people might have and search for on YouTube. Those videos were getting a lot of play. And so we met up again and we're like, well, let's ask some more softball questions. And then we started having fun with it to the point where I'm like, here's some things you should never say to an atheist. And he would go back and edit and add music to it. And that one got like 2 to 3 million views. And so you never know what's going to go viral. Right. That's one of the biggest ones that went viral, obviously. But like, that was kind of a fluke that, oh, people are watching this. And the only reason I stepped away from that is because he's off doing other projects. I'm in a different area of my life too. And also it's a lot easier when I can just make something and stick it up there. Instead of, working it out with a partner. So that's why I switched to my own channel last year. But anyway, what I'm always surprised by is when I give talks, keep in mind, the blog is my full-time job. That is kind of what I do. The YouTube is a little side hustle that every now and then, it doesn't make a lot of money for me, but it is fun. But what surprised me is every time I give talks, if there is a younger crowd, college age, younger, they all only know me from YouTube. None of them read my site at all. You know what I mean? Yep. And so what surprised me is it doesn't matter if a video went viral or not. It reaches a different audience than the one I can reach with my website. Even I do a podcast. It kind of rehashes a lot of the stuff I write about on the website. So I'm thinking, who's going to listen to this when I already put it out there? But it reaches a different audience that doesn't do blogs. You know what I mean? So if someone out there is really good at TikTok or making videos of any sort, there's no one else tapping that market. Go do it. Go advocate for your beliefs on a different medium, because you'll be that person and then you'll be really good at that. And I won't be, because what do I know? But that's the thing, like, you can reach a different audience and different people can. And my God, we need more women doing that. And we need more people of color doing that, because there just aren't that many who are doing it, much less doing it regularly. Agreed.
Man, you're right. That struck home with me when you said, you work really hard on the things, and it barely, sometimes it won't go viral. It never does.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
always
sure.
the stuff you just throw down, and that always, I
I got a video yesterday. A friend of mine who sent me a video. He's like, hey, he researches this stuff all the time and he posts about politics. He's like, this one is straight up religion, so he's not going to write about it. So he sent me a video of the president's spiritual advisor, Paula White, basically doing a ministry thing and saying, give me some money. So I posted that on Twitter, I cannot check Twitter because the responses are insane still 24 hours later, which doesn't happen often for me at all. But yesterday it did. And it's like, there are things I spend hours working on blog posts and those go out and like a handful of maybe responses. I tweet out a video of this woman saying, give me money, thousands. You know what I mean?
We spent 3 months coming up with the perfect script, the three of us. At the time, it was the four of us. So you said there's only 3 hardcore right-leaning atheists.
There's relatively few, right? Yeah.
We had four hosts of this show, but TJ just left. It wasn't because he was right-leaning, conservative atheist. So we're looking for someone to fill that void right now. We're looking for a fourth host to kind of keep us honest. You know, having varying socio-political views helps keep us out of an echo chamber.
Sure. And this is part of why, like, for the podcast, I will tell you, like, I know even you said you will probably edit out some, you know, if there's a noise or whatever. So for the podcast, it's we're just going to talk for an hour. And if shit happens, then we're just, I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah. You don't spend any time on it. It goes viral. That's how it always happens.
For YouTube too, it's one take and I'm done with certain videos. Other ones I'll try to edit and make look nice. But a lot of times YouTube is like, boom, there it is. I don't care if it goes viral. Just take it.
I don't even know why I spend so much time on some of them.
I'm always surprised. I don't know if you are when I hear YouTubers or podcasters say like, I'm going to edit out the ums or the little vocal tics we all have, which I kind of get at some aspect, but like, pointless. I've heard plenty of really great podcasts where they're literally just, it's an interview. So they're just talking. That's it. Like, you're a human. You're going to cough. Like, get over it. You know what I mean? I know as a listener, I don't care. So I'm always amazed when people are like putting that much care. I appreciate the dedication, but I don't know that it matters as much.
But we spent 3 months heavily, it was a brainchild of all 4 of us at the time.
Yes.
Script to voiceover to editing, and then we got celebrity narrator. Seth Andrews did a narration, the voiceover. So all the animation took us 3 months to put together this rehash of The Emperor's New Clothes, and I was so proud of it. It was like our zenith. It was our swan song, right? Barely 1,000 views, but then we go and do a Robert Jeffress megachurch protest, and I don't even edit it. I just record some crazy Christians on the side of the road, and it gets 100,000 views. So I don't know.
And there is an art to knowing what to cover, when to cover. Robert Jeffress protest, when that, you know what's weird? Like every now and then I will see in like real-time analytics. It hasn't happened for a while, but this was happening for every time. There was this pastor who appeared on Fox News, like, where is the Catholic garb? Jonathan Morris, I think was his name.
Young guy.
And he left the priesthood. I think he said, I want to get married. I want a relationship, and I can't do that as a priest. Hey, good for him. Fine. So he left the priesthood, but he is still every now and then comes back on Fox News. And the weird thing is I wrote about that on my website because it's like, dude, he wants to leave the priesthood so he can have sex. That's what it boils down to, which fine, good for him. But every time he makes an appearance on Fox News, I will see this spike in traffic because people, I think, are like, wait, that's the pet priest guy. How come he's not wearing his priest garb? And they search for it and they find my article because they're looking for him, not me. But they come across that. And that's the thing. Robert Jeffress protest, if Robert Jeffress is on TV every damn day on Fox News, and when people want to know, wait, he said something crazy, right? Let me go look him up. I wouldn't be surprised if they came across a protest, right?
No shit. I guess that's true. Getting residuals or peripheral, like someone searching for this. And
the long tail of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is an art form to, you probably already know this, an art form to walking that fine line between clickbait and just keeping it entertaining as far as the title and the search engine optimization.
I try really hard not to be clickbait. If I put something in the headline, I want you to get that. And I'll have nice fights about this with some of the people who write for me. It's like, we'll have an argument about like, well, what should the headline be? Because sometimes it can be too cutesy. And it's like, that's given the wrong impression. And I don't want to do that. Only now and then I might just, my favorite, I think, example of that is I didn't quote Pat Robertson, but this is the gist of what he said. And the headline was like, Pat Robertson, I'm being dominated by homosexuals. And the actual thing he said in the show is basically gay rights is overtaking our media. Gay people are dominating the culture and not listening to me. And that one I'm like, okay, I'm running with the funny headline there because like that's way better than his actual. Which
as
I
long,
got this.
As long as
I
you
wasn't lying
can't.
to you.
Yeah, as long as you can't be held liable for what is it, slander? No, libel if it's a printed word. But
I didn't put it in quotation marks.
You didn't put it in quotation marks. You were paraphrasing.
It was obvious it was being cutesy about it. But you're right. Like there is an art to it. Sometimes, the like Deadspin, when that site used to exist for real, like that talks about sports, they're always really, there's some sites that are just brilliant with headlines. And I'm always in awe of those people who could just do it so well because they're being funny, but the gist of the story came through loud and clear. I know what I'm clicking on.
Most of our videos are just us and an in-studio guest shooting the shit.
Yeah.
It's all in the title though. I mean, there's not much change between any of our videos. They're all basically the same kind of, Courtney has her strengths and weaknesses, we each have, she's a psychologist. So anytime we're talking mind or, neuroscience, I mean, she's in on that. And, but it's all the same basic format. But if the title, every once in a while, I don't even realize it's clickbaity. And I'll title something like, Your God is a Monster. Boom, 70,000 views. Oh, okay. It's about the title. It's definitely about the title.
And as long as it's accurate, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me as a listener. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And there are some Christian websites and YouTube channels too, where I'm like, I know exactly what I'm getting, where I'm getting it. I appreciate timestamps whenever people put it in so I could skip to the stuff I want. I hate the titles that are like, today's sermon, Sunday, December, whatever. It's like, you're not. I got to search transcripts now, and it's annoying.
Good point. Okay, question 7. We're making good time, Hemant. I'm very pleased with this. Okay, your latest video, man, I think this is kind of a segue too. Holy shit. This is starting to creep me out a little bit. Like you're inside my head. Your latest video dealt with Southern churches still encouraging attendance. Now, we can't say the name of the virus or the colloquial name, but we can just say the illness or the disease. So Southern churches are still encouraging attendance. Many atheist comments on there. This is what I want to ask you. A lot of atheists come on there. Do you think that this is probably not a good thing for them to be saying, or do you kind of distance yourself from those atheists that leave comments like Darwin Award, this is natural selection in progress, and here's a direct quote, this is how nature weeds out the gene pool, which can get dangerously close to maybe a eugenics. And how do you feel about that?
The ones you mentioned, I mean, are more jokey to me when they mention Darwin Award, stuff like that, as opposed to like, oh, all Christians should be murdered. Like, no. I will tell you, because of the volume of comments, especially on my blog, more so than YouTube, I don't look at them. There are some words that I know the commenting software will weed out as spam automatically, but I don't check them. So I rely on my own regular commenters who know they can just email me and say, hey, someone on this thread said this horrible thing, and that person I just ban. Like, I don't think about it. I find that person, you are now banned from commenting. I'm not getting in an argument. I'm not sending you a warning. Who has time for that? I'm just putting a blacklist on you and your IP address forever. If you said one wrong thing, because I don't care. Like, there are plenty of good commenters who don't cross that line. You did. I'm not going to deal with you anymore. Done. YouTube, I actually filter. I think about less because not as many people comment on my YouTube channel as they do on my blog. But again, if I knew something was bad, I would try to get rid of it. I just don't police it because I don't have
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we get less than 800 comments on average across per month across all of our social media. So we're still at a point where, and one of our big things is we are a pure marketplace of free speech. We're one of the few atheist YouTube channels out there that we don't block, ban, or censor, which can be good. It's a double-edged sword, baby. Let me tell you. But I think when we get to your level, we might have to rethink that, because it's going to be hard as hell.
A couple of years ago where I used to at least go through really quickly all the comments that were appearing, and it just became overwhelming. And as soon as I set the filter on Gmail where I'm like, look, if there's a comment, send to trash. I don't want to look at you unless for whatever reason I want to know if someone posted something. I don't know. But honestly, they all go to trash. I don't even get notifications anymore for comments. And it's great. I don't think about them unless someone emails me personally and just says, get rid of this person. I'm like, yep, got it, done. But I just don't think about them anymore. So it's less of a good gesture about free speech as much as I don't have time. So laziness gets me in the same spot.
This is about you personally. Question number 9. Do you often get approached with people asking what your national origin is, your ethnic background, your ancestry? Is English your native language? And do you find any of those comments microaggression racist?
I mean, depends on who's asking, why they're asking.
The context.
I mean, honestly, I don't. It's mostly because I'm very isolated. Like, I coach a team, like I mentioned. They all know me already. If I'm not, I barely leave my house. When I do, it's like at a coffee place where pretty much they all know me anyway. And so I don't run into a lot of new people. So the only people who are strangers who might even come up to me because they know the stuff I do to the point where they would ask that sort of thing are like trolls on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not running into a lot of strangers every day.
You don't get recognized very often?
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's always a cool, weird thing when it happens, but I don't really go, this sounds horrible. I don't go out that much. And even if I'm giving talks, if I'm giving talks somewhere, they all know who I am because I'm giving a talk. So it's not strangers. So it doesn't happen much. Now, the question of like, would I find that offensive or anything? Look, if it's a genuine question, I don't care. It could be like if you're not you, but like if someone's asking it in a weird way, I don't get offended by much, but like I could see how that could be weird.
You grew up as a Jain, correct?
Yes.
Sam Harris has publicly said on numerous occasions that Jainism, he's identified Jainism as the least dangerous religion on the planet, and he gave his reasons why. Do you feel that there are some religions that are more dangerous to society than others, and why?
Yeah, so let me go back because there's a lot in there.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually surprised when I read The End of Faith, and this is 2006 or something. I was shocked because he mentioned Jainism in there in the way that you said. And I was shocked because I don't think I had ever heard anything mainstream or a best-selling book where they even mentioned Jainism. So the fact that he mentioned it and said this is a religion based on nonviolence, like extreme Jains are not a problem.
Exactly.
Even if extreme any other religion is.
The more extreme you are as a Jain, the less dangerous you are.
Right. So I was like pleasantly surprised to see that. Now, here's where he got it wrong, or at least here's what he missed. Even within Jainism, it can possibly go too far in that, there are some very strict Jains that take fasting really seriously. And like, they might say you should fast for like 8 days straight, which is one thing when you're 40 and devout, but another when you're telling children, you should fast for like a week straight or whatever, or, fast, but like only water and only after you do a ritual to it. And there have been stories, not often, but some stories of kids that have died doing that stuff. And that is a result of Jainism. It's a result of irrational dogma in Jainism. He didn't mention that in the book. And I haven't heard him mention that in the future. I don't listen to his podcast really, so I don't know if he's mentioned it since. But
numerous times.
Okay, so I don't know if he's talked about that aspect of it specifically. But Yeah, that was a weird surprise when I heard him mention that, and I've heard Jainism come up in that context. What was the other thing you asked?
Grew up as a Jain. Sam Harris publicly said least dangerous. Oh, are there some religions that you believe are more dangerous than others?
Yeah, there are, but I would be hard pressed to like. I really don't believe, and this is I think a Sam Harris thing. Like I really don't believe Islam is worse than Christianity, and Christianity is worse than Buddhism or whatever. It really depends on so many other factors and how people want to use religion for evil. I mean, in the US right now, I think it would be a pretty slam dunk case for why white evangelical Christianity, or whatever Christianity you want to pigeonhole them in, is the most dangerous force in the country because of all the harm it's causing, because those people happen to be in political power. It's not the beliefs themselves, it's how the people in charge are using it.
Yep.
And it would be very easy to hijack a faith. And I mean, if Westboro Baptist Church, which no one would suggest is representative of Christianity, but if they became a violent cult instead of just the crazy protesters at a funeral, you know what I mean? If someone said, well, that's what happens at extremist Christianity, I think it would be a fair argument to make that, no, I think they're just weird and crazy in their own way, and that's not necessarily representative of the religion. I would argue the same thing about, radical terrorists who are using Islam too. So, I mean, that gets complicated, but are there religions that are more dangerous? Yeah, I mean, if you want to point to certain scriptures, certain lines, sure. There are plenty of religions that have bad stuff. Some have more than others. I haven't weighed them out. I haven't ranked them. I don't know, but I'm sure that's the case. But also you will find nut jobs in any sort of dogma, whether it's a political dogma or a religious dogma or some ideology. There are always going to be people with bad ideas and people who take those bad ideas to crazy lengths. And it's not necessarily because, I mean, man, I'm pro-choice and there are people who are anti-abortion who obviously have murdered abortion doctors. Do I think that's representative of that movement at large? No. Did their ideology play a role in it? It didn't help. But again, that line of how much of that do you put on the belief itself? I'm grateful that we haven't seen some atheist terrorist who's committing some act of violence. You know what I mean? It happened once in North Carolina a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think the blonde kid with the bowl haircut. I can't.
No, not that guy. Not that kid. It was a guy who killed 3 Muslim people in North Carolina at a college, and he was an atheist, and they were Muslim. But, and this has been borne out in police records and articles written about it later, the reason he killed them was not based on their religious differences.
It was where they were parking in the apartment complex.
It was something stupid, right? Yep. Like it was some stupid thing that this crazy guy took too far. And so again, it's like, well, let's say that wasn't the case. Let's say it was a religious difference. I mean, how much responsibility do you have for what he did? Or do I have for what he did? And by the way,
Dylan Roof, that's the kid.
Right.
And he was an atheist too.
I don't remember him being an atheist, but I have seen there was a guy who murdered people in a church. And of course, there's always a jump to, and it wasn't Dylan Roof, it was a different kid, but there was someone who murdered people in a Texas church. And I remember because articles came out linking myself, he had liked my Facebook page.
Oh, shit.
And how much responsibility do I bear for something he did, even though I would never suggest something like that. But again, this is a thing, this is why I really don't like it when people are saying extremist blank religion leads to terrorism. And believe me, I'm sure I've said stupid stuff like that in the past, and I don't believe it now. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's fair to say this religion is so bad that if you take it to its logical extremes, it leads to this. It's no, there is no straight line connecting those things. There's a lot of curvy patterns and people taking whatever it is they want to justify the crazy stuff they do. It's way more complicated than I think a lot of people make it out to be.
It's not the scriptures themselves, it's how nut jobs or insane people interpret those scriptures and how they act on it.
I mean, that's what scripture is, right? Here is this vague thing. It's like Nostradamus. It's very vague on purpose. Take it as you will. Man, it depends on who's doing the reading.
It's such an honor to have just the eloquence that you laid that out in a way that I had never heard that before. That was just, yeah, you made a really great
hey,
point.
Hey, YouTube, listen. People on YouTube.
Okay, that's all 10. Now there's a bonus 11th question that we ask all our guests.
All right.
And we have as many believers as we do non-believers on our show. So I have to tailor this question based on what you are. So here's your version of the question.
All right.
Right now, there's irrefutable proof that Yahweh, the God of the Old and New Testament, exists. The debate is over. He's done. He somehow convinced all of us. There are no more atheists. All right. So start from there. Knowing that, starting today, how is it going to change your life? What are you going to be doing differently from here on out?
I guess I'm not trying to do a cop-out. It depends on where that leads me. I mean, I would hope I'm still asking the same questions. I would hope I'm still thinking critically about everything. I don't know if like rituals change or something. Like I would like to think I would not change much because my life right now isn't dependent on me being an atheist. So if I suddenly started believing in God, okay, I believe in God. So maybe I pray that. Like, I don't think it would change my actions very much. I might think differently about some things, but that's about it. I mean, I would hope that's the case for everybody. Like, if you're a Christian and you stopped believing in God, like, if you suddenly changed everything about your life, now I have to wonder what the hell you were doing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I get the stop praying, but like, what, are you going to be a not nice person? Like, or are you going to be a nice person now? Because what the hell were you before? Like, I think this is actually, I didn't mention this. This is part of the reason I think it was a lot easier for me to explain to my parents that I was an atheist, because they were scared, because they didn't understand it very much. I wasn't kicked out of the house or anything, but they didn't understand it, so they were scared of it. But part of what made it easier for them to deal with, if not accept, is the fact that nothing else about me changed. I was still a vegetarian. I was still pursuing whatever education I was pursuing. Like, nothing really changed. And because why would it? Because I just thought differently about how I saw the world, not who I was, what I was trying to do. So, man, if I knew God existed now, I don't think much would change. I hope I'm honest with you about that if I did change my mind. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
I was asking this question for 3 years straight, and I never get a repeat answer. So that, yeah.
Interesting.
I always say that I would have to take the letter A off of Atheist Edge YouTube channel. So, atheist. Yeah. So
there was.
No, don't tell me.
There was an atheist blogger way back in the old days of blogging, and we're talking way more than 14 years ago or something. I think, if I have it right, his name was the Raging Atheist.
Yeah.
Which was a play.
Raging
I don't know
Atheist.
if that was
I've
right.
heard of him.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember the name, but he found God.
And really?
I think, again, this is a while back. I never knew him personally, but I think he changed the name of the website to Raging Theist because he was so angry about it.
That's crazy. So, well, that leads me to a good question. I mean, would you keep the blogs going? Would you take the A off of Atheist Voice? And would you just keep doing what you're doing, but doing it in the praise of Yahweh?
Interesting. Yeah.
Still having discussions about theology or about his divine nature, that his divine hiddenness still, or, you know,
I don't know what I would do with the channel name for sure. That would be weird.
The Theist Voice.
Yeah. You know what would be strange is I've been doing the blogging and stuff for so long. I honestly don't know what the hell else I would do. But the weird thing is, if I suddenly found God, I feel like I would be as much of an advocate for that as I am of atheism now, because that's me. I've heard the same thing from Christian apologists too, especially the ones who are like, I used to be an atheist and then I proved Jesus, whatever. But like they claim anyway, I was so passionate about atheism, but it doesn't surprise me then that when they become Christians, they are vocal advocates of that because they're very passionate people about their beliefs. And part of me, very small part of me, really respects the fact, even someone like Ken Ham, creationist, like, I kind of respect the fact that he is not half-assing this thing. He is all in on this. And I think I hate apathy more than I maybe dislike people who are just really passionate for the things they believe in, because so many people just go through the day and they have no thoughts about anything. So it's like, I kind of like Christian apologists more than I like Christians who don't really care, because those people want to have the conversation with you. For you and me and maybe your viewers, those people are the ones more fun to talk to because they've thought about this and they've come to a different conclusion. But at least with some of them, you can have that conversation. There are some Christians I'm like, I don't even want to talk to you because I don't think you're capable of listening. But there are some who genuinely want to hear what you have to say and try to fight back, because that's fun for them. And it's fun for some atheists. I don't find that fun, but there are a lot of atheists out there who are like, I want to have this debate. Come fight me on this. And I appreciate the fact that some people care so much. And I hope they're not hurting people in the process.
Great answer. Hemant Mehta. Let's do plugs again. Books, blogs, articles, websites, social media, YouTube, podcasts, upcoming events.
FriendlyAtheist.com is where everything is. There is a podcast, Friendly Atheist Podcast. There are some books, which you can find at the website. But there's random fun stuff everywhere. But hey, I will tell you this, because I haven't announced this outside of my podcast, and maybe it's a surprise for some of your listeners. Today is Wednesday, and in 2 weeks, most of my appearances, I was going to do some speaking stuff. They've all been canceled because of stuff. But in 2 weeks, outside of our whole bubble of activism, I will be on Jeopardy.
What?
The show.
You're shitting.
I am not shitting. It is on April 1st. Haha, not a joke.
That's our 3rd anniversary of this show.
I did it for you. No joke. I will be on the show on April 1st. Please watch. How did I do? Who knows?
Oh, you're under contract to not even talk about the outcome, aren't you?
I cannot tell you the outcome.
My God.
I cannot tell you clues. Down. You should. I cannot tell you clues or anything.
Does atheism or anything about it come up at all in your bio at the beginning?
You know what? No, it doesn't. I told them I was a blogger. Okay. And I did not say more than that. And so I believe they introduced me as a blogger. Keep the people
on your side. That's good.
Yeah. It was a blur. A lot of it was a blur. But April 1st, man.
Crazy. Okay. Crazy. This won't go out for another week. So when Hemant said, April 1st, that's all you guys need to know.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be out before then. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. It's been an honor, man. And let's do this again someday.
That'd be fun. Sounds good. Awesome. Have a good one, everyone. Stay safe.